Hi, so this is Jim Powell. I just finished listening to Geoff Mulgan on his TED Talk on studio schools, I think is what he described them as. It's schools that are in Europe that are starting up, and the idea behind them is giving kids real-world experience. Kids that are failing in terms of lectures and stuff like that, just plugging them in to the real world, getting them to work on teams, getting them to actually do things rather than sitting in a classroom and lecture, which this seems like kind of like a no-brainer. It seems a lot like the trade schools that we had growing up, which I never understood why those kind of things were frowned upon. When I was growing up, it was those schools were more the ones that dealt with like learning a specific trade, like welding or mechanics or something like that. But I mean, those things I would think would be hugely valuable to people who were like ultimately going into like engineering. Seeing how the real world works, and then learning to build on it in the math, in the science, and all the other academic fields. My personal perspective on how, if I could create a school and how I would run a school that I would think would be hugely beneficial would be to create a school where you started from your basic technologies, and then you work your way forward through history at a fairly rapid pace, but you require the students to develop the technologies themselves, to actually get hands-on experience to build the technologies. So you'll work on circuits, you'll work on ultimately building, working with vacuum tubes, all that kind of thing, and understanding the progression of technology, because technology is an evolutionary thing. And likewise, education should be something that builds upon itself. So, I mean, we've advanced so far in a society where people can program, but they have absolutely no idea why and how a computer actually works. Or people can even use a computer and have absolutely no idea how programming works. And the reason why I guess I'm focusing on technologies or any of the things that we use is because technology is what has given rise to humanity's ability to reduce his labor. By coming up with machines and plows and tools like that, we were able to enhance our ability for agriculture and move on to things preferably more enjoyable. Now, I think that would probably be the ideal thing, would be to develop a school that fostered that kind of educational learning. So you're learning history, you're learning science, you're learning mathematics, you're learning the concepts of engineering, all centered around the evolution of technology. So I never understood why we never, there's nothing like that out there. I think in college they tried to do something like that, but it wasn't hands-on. You didn't actually get to build the light bulb. Thomas Edison spent hundreds and, if not possibly thousands of attempts at creating the light bulb. He was okay with failing. We don't have to fail. We actually know how things work. But we can, if you give, someone the ability to experiment, to try it, to see, to actually see it work in action, they get a greater understanding of it. And the reason, and it's not just doing labs like you do in science class. I thought those were nifty and neat, but it wasn't building upon itself. It was just so short-lived that you didn't really, see the value in it, at least for me personally. You would spend probably 90% of your time in lecture and 10% of your time in lab. Even in college, any of the other science classes, you spent the majority of your time in lecture, and then even in labs, you still ended up doing like more lecture and discussion than you did actually like hands-on working on a problem, developing a solution. So it reminds me of the proverb that it goes something like, if you tell me, I'll forget. If you show me, I'll remember. If you involve me, I'll understand. So I think that's kind of the premise of what I'm trying to get at is involve people in the evolution of technology, bring them up to speed at an early age, teaching them all the key components, while teaching them this is why the different concepts of math have evolved. This is how, all this has kind of come together. And you have an education program that's unified. You don't segregate out English from math, from science, and history. You keep them all integrated together. So that's how I would do education if I were in charge. So I'll give them, kids are like a free, valuable resource. It's like an internship or a co-op, put them to use, they'll actually get more experience and more real-world understanding. My only concern with the TEDTalk's approach with actually having them work in the fields, it was my concern that it'd make them cynical of the way things really are, because that was what was surprising to me, is that in class you get to learn the best practices, but in the real world I found quickly that those best practices are just completely forgotten. It's just terrible. So anyways, that was my idea for education, and based upon their idea, which seemed like it was kind of something that we'd already do anyways. But anyways, see you.